existence precedes essence. That is to say, there is no abstraction. There is only individuality that goes in any direction. This can certainly be applied to music and to performance.
I think we should not just settle for an easy answer. We should really search for the thing that wrestle with the infinite stories or ideas or methods. And your narrative way of playing just reminded me of one of the Liszt work, Overman's Valley. That piece, there's no dance, there's no march. May I read one of the quotes from Sinanfu's Overman's that quoted from this as well?
Yes.
What will I? What am I? What must I ask of nature? Every cause is invisible, every aim deceptive, every form changes, all continuance comes to the end. I feel I exist simply to be the prey of untenable desires, to be distorted by the spell of a fantastic world, and to stand against its dazzling falsity. So you also have unearthed this Concerto No. 3. This is a very rare piece. Well, so pianists like Liszt, this figure who has a lot of influential with philosophies and literature, how do you approach this music?
The Liszt Concerto No. 3, of which I did the New York premiere with the New York Philharmonic. It was discovered many years after his death by a fine Liszt scholar named J. Rosenblatt, who found that he found that if you collected papers from different European museums, or that you had a complete piece that Liszt had composed at the same time that he composed the first version of his other concerti, and then decided not to revise it, probably because it was in E flat, the same as his other concerto. So it was put together. It's complete, but it needed to be fleshed out a little bit. Still, it's quite beautiful, I think. And I was thrilled to have it. And the challenge with Liszt is always to keep it from being ugly and virtuosic. It is virtuosic, but that has to be an element in the enormous expressivity of the piece. And this is, again, this question of narrative versus architectural. Somebody came to me yesterday and played the Norma Fantasy of Liszt. Now, you can also play and people often do. But if you think of the melody that way and not. You have a story, which I think is. And not, well, this is particularly important in romantic music, using the word romantic not to mean, but is the period of great literature also.
This reminds me of Liszt's quote. He said that my piano should not just play, my piano must thunder, weep, sing, sigh, and dream, like a soul.
Uh-huh.
That's
Yes.
beautiful.
Yes.
So besides that, I know you are an existentialism. You are a king of existentialism. Do you think that piano playing is a mirror of a craftsmanship of existentialism?
When I went to college, I fell in love with French existentialism and with Sartre in particular. Existence precedes essence. That is to say, there is no abstraction. There is only individuality that goes in any direction. This can certainly be applied to music and to performance. Again, you start not with an abstraction, not with this is the nature of humanity. When you play, so it's not. But first of all, that each of those is an existentialist step. As for the key, where are you? Are you in F minor? That's an existentialist commitment. It's a commitment to going to A flat major. Well, I don't say that Chopin thought of it that way, but I'm happy to think of it that way, and with all music, you know. And not, it's a matter, as I said before, very much of accents, but also of pedaling, and of thinking harmonically, and not metrically, and it's particularly appropriate for romantic music, I think. Always moving forward and not that, but so I don't mean that I think when I play that I'm thinking existence precedes essence, but that idea, that Sartrean idea, which he certainly pushed to an exaggerated point, but it works very well with what I want to say about music, that it's a path that goes along and tells a story and finds its way to different conclusions. One of the things I say to students sometimes, students who say have applied to Juilliard and not gotten in, which happens necessarily all the time because of numbers. So I tell them about a story by Jorge Luis Borges, the Argentine writer. It's called The Garden of the Forking Paths, and it shows how a path can lead in many different directions. In the story, the young Chinese man murders the philosopher whom he adores because of the way the story has evolved. And it gives a different, if you do, that's a different feeling from, it's as if it comes out right from the pain of the word.
I was just thinking that when you mentioned about this metronomic playing, actually the concept of meter was inherent from poetry.
So I tell my students, all right, you know the Wander Fantasy. A lot of students play it, and I almost never like the way they play it. I hear. And I don't want to hear that. And I say, this long and two shorts is a classical meter. And it comes from Latin and Greek, is not me ni na e de thea, but me ni ta e, me ni na e de thea, or how does the...
So it's one stress and two unstressed.
Yes. So it's ya pa pam pa 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 pa, and not yam pa 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 pa. And if you do that, you...
You mentioned once that to study those museumed plays, one should not start with a recording. So how would you suggest a student approaching to a piece, especially such a big program work?
Look at the music. Look at what's on the page. Don't think of it as something to listen to, but something to see first. And it's fine to listen to recordings, preferably old recordings. That is to say, not recordings that give you what you already know. If you want to play, don't start out as listening to it, and then you... But watch, look at the music and see. And that way the music comes alive and doesn't sound like a mere exercise in virtuosity.
What do you think of competitions? Do you encourage students, pianists, to attend take part into competitions.
Yes. Don't let them keep you from learning new repertoire. And the other is, don't think that you have to win, because you don't have to win. And mostly you won't.
Okay.
That's the nature of but competitions are very helpful. They get people to bring their performance to a real stage of perfection, and they also, they're good socially. The world of music students, it's a narrow world, and it's important for students to be part of it and to know other musicians. And it's important for them to be heard by other people. And to do that, you have to have the correct space for it. So I'm all in favor of competitions. And of course, some competitions more than others. People say to me, well, are the competitions entirely honest? I say, are you entirely honest? Why would you expect the competitions to be entirely honest? But that doesn't mean that they're entirely dishonest. I notice that many of the pianists I most admire have built their careers on competitions, and some have not, and that's fine. But everything depends on the judges. You see, so much in life is competition, and our mere existence on the planet is competitive, and I don't think we can altogether get away from that. And I'm happy with it. I mean, so long as it goes along with love. I think we have to be happy that we have competition.
What does freedom mean to you?
There's musical freedom. Freedom from the text. And that brings up the whole question of what an ideal performance is. Do we want to follow the indications in the score? Do we know how to interpret the indications of a score? Do we think that an ideal performance is what the composer would have liked? I think not. The fact is that we often say, well, if we had recordings of Mozart playing, we would be so lucky, but we don't have Mozart. But we have Rachmaninoff and Prokofiev and Bartok, as well as others, great pianists who have recorded their music. And we listen to those recordings, and we don't play like them at all. I don't know anybody who plays Rachmaninoff like Rachmaninoff. I don't mean as well, I mean like it. Tempi moods are quite different. As for Prokofiev, if you listen to Prokofiev playing the Third Concerto, you wouldn't recognize it as the same piece that a great performer like Marta Argerich plays. So I would say that the ideal performance is one that brings the music best to life. Of course, that depends on personal opinion, and that's fine. If I play to agree that's freedom. For me, it's satisfactory. Others might feel that it's not enough freedom. Others might feel that it's too much freedom. That's what makes different performances different. We're trying to find something that appeals to us. Steuermann told me something very interesting. I think this is going to be my last comment on this subject. I brought him the Berg Sonata. You know the Berg Sonata. Now this is a piece which people play generally in a rather wild way because of the immense number of little indications that he's written on every note, more or less. Steuermann, of course, was the pianist of the Second Viennese School, and he knew Berg very well. And he said, this was the first piece I ever played for Berg. And before I got started, Berg said, I hope he didn't pay any attention to all the nonsense I wrote in the score. He said, I was only trying to notate the natural rubato of the phrase. The natural rubato of the phrase. That's a world. That doesn't just apply to Berg. That applies to Brahms. And yes, in a different way, it applies to Mozart. Mozart said his left hand keeps exact time and the right hand takes liberties. We know perfectly well that that's not so. It can't possibly be so. And Chopin said the same thing. And we have testimony from Chopin's period to say that he was playing mazurkas in 2/4 instead of 3/4. Something like that, which if you measure it, it comes out to 2. So, on the other hand, even Webern. I heard Steuermann play that, even though all the books say that he never played it, but I heard him play it in Darmstadt. It was written for him, and he refused to acknowledge it because his horror at Webern's Nazi sympathies. But when he played it, it didn't at all sound like the Webernians. It sounded like Brahms, and it was very beautiful.
I think sometimes we would squeeze all the expressive details and make a whole deal of the up and down of the phrase, but forget that simply the melody is the soul. And we as pianists, we need to get our soul temperature into the art and let the art wash and transform, so then the sensitivity can be transformed to the piano player.
Well, this summer I will be doing a series of festivals. I'm starting in Perugia in Italy, and then going to Georgia, not American Georgia, but Russian Georgia, and then to Long Island, here, and then to Tampa, Florida, and then to China, to Longzhou, and to North Carolina, the Vivace Festival, and to San Francisco. So it's going to be a very busy summer. Those are all teaching festivals, but in most of them I will be performing also.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your conversation here at tTt. It was so fascinating and inspiring to hear your talk, hear your wisdom. And I will, of course, meditate on your words for maybe years, seasons, just like you were saying that classical music is one of a kind that we have to listen it and taste it day by day, weeks by weeks, month by month, seasons by seasons.